Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as promised, it is time for that story time that I told you guys I would be making in my last video. Brace yourselves because this is a crazy pet store story that happened to me about 4 days ago, and I wanted to share it with you guys because of how ridiculous it was. So you guys may or may not know that I very recently found out that I have over 100 plus baby frogs / tadpoles living in my pool in my backyard. If you haven't seen that story, I will link it for you down below so you guys can get filled in. But if you did see that video, then you probably know that I promised that I was going to tell you guys this story about how I was trying to buy some aquatic plants at a pet store and I was actually refused service. They told me that they basically were not going to sell me the plants, and I told you guys that I would tell you the story. So that is the story that I promised you, and that is what I'm going to be telling you now. If you guys enjoyed this story, feel free to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that I'm going to be putting out very soon, as well as the tadpoles' growth progress into turning into little frogs. Okay. So let's jump into the story. So rewind to about 4 days ago, I discovered that I had all of these tadpoles living in my pool. Again, the backstory to that will be linked in the description down below. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I did make a whole video about that story on how I discovered them and how I'm taking care of them. But one of the things I decided to do in order to help them and take care of them was to get them some live plants and some algae tablets for the pool that they're in. Obviously, they need places to hide, as well as plants do put off oxygen into the water and things like that. So that was something that I was obviously wanting to buy for the kiddie pool, basically just to put some plants in there so they can hide, escape from the sun, and things like that. So obviously I was doing research. I wanted to know which plants I needed, which plants did really well in a lot of sunlight, because obviously the pool is out in the sun, it's out in the open in the backyard, which plants would be safe for the tadpoles / baby frogs. So I decided to call a pet store to talk about the plants and see if I could come in and buy some. Now obviously I'm not going to say the name of the pet store or the worker who I talked to in this video, because I do have live footage of the story or proof or whatever of this phone call that I had with them, which was absolutely ridiculous. But I'm not going to be disclosing the store or the employee's name or anything like that. I just wanted to share the story because it was ridiculous, and I'm like, I didn't really see their logic. So anyway, back to the story. So I call this pet store and I start talking to this worker, and I'm explaining to him the tadpole situation. There's essentially a small pool in my backyard that I had left unattended for a few weeks because of rainstorms, hot weather, etc. I hadn't been using it, my dogs weren't using it, so it was basically just neglected. Well, because of this, obviously a frog or a toad or something had laid eggs in the pool, they hatched, and now I had over 100 plus little tadpoles that I was concerned about. I wanted to take care of, see them to adulthood so that I could release them. Very simple, very straightforward. I basically just told them that story. I then asked him about food for the tadpoles, the algae tablets that I ended up buying, as well as I inquired about different aquatic plants that I could put in the pool just to take care of the tadpoles, you know, so they could hide under them and things. And this is where the conversation takes quite the turn. On the phone call, this store employee proceeded to tell me that if I come in and try to buy these plants, he would refuse me service. And I was like, what? What do you mean I can't buy the plants? And he basically said, well, because your intentions are to put the aquatic plants in a swimming pool for tadpoles, unfortunately, we will not be able to sell you any aquatic plants in our store. What? I was so taken aback. I didn't know what he was talking about, or if he understood that I meant plants and not fish or something like that. I really didn't know what he was saying. So I was so taken aback, I was kind of just like, okay, thank you, and I basically just hung up the phone. After getting off the phone, it was such a weird thing, and I couldn't believe that he wouldn't sell me the plants, and I didn't even ask why. Like, I really didn't get into it with him because I was just like, okay, like maybe he misunderstood me. I didn't know. So what did I do? I decided to call the store back, talk to the guy again, and also record the conversation for clarity. So here's the full conversation that I had with this pet store worker right here.
Hi, yes, are you the gentleman I was talking to about buying some aquatic plants for my tadpoles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry to bother you again. I was just curious, you did know I was talking about plants, right? I don't know if maybe you misunderstood me, because I wasn't sure if, like, I wasn't talking about, fish, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's the plants? Yeah. I mean, if you plan to make that kiddie pool, like, with dirt in it and everything to plant the plants, then we can sell them to you. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you're just gonna place them in there and then later on get rid of them,
then I'm not allowed to buy the aquatic plants for it?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, you can buy like gravel and stuff like that and plant them in there and then like eventually get rid of them, but without the gravel and stuff, no, ma'am.
You won't sell them to me?
No, ma'am, unfortunately.
What? Why?
I understand what you said about the 2 betas, because you said you wouldn't sell someone 2 betas, but like, I guess it's just funny to me that you mentioned that about the plants, but like, you guys sell critter trails for hamsters. So it's funny to me. I don't know. It's weird that you're like protective over the plants, but like with hamsters, you know, you'll like sell 2 hamsters to someone when they shouldn't live together.
Well, I mean, 2 hamsters, it's completely different than 2 betas or something like that.
But
like
plants
will get along.
Yeah, he just said that.
Like, 2 hamsters typically don't get along. Like, on occasion, robos may, but like, in general, hamsters are solitary animals. But it's just funny. Again, I'm not arguing. I just thought it was just kind of took me back. I wasn't expecting you to say that I couldn't buy plants to put in the kiddie pool when, like, you guys sell critter trails, you know, and tiny, like, beta cubes and stuff. It just took me back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you can come in and buy, like, gravel for the plants and everything like that, but if it's just the plants in there, then no, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah, I'm sorry about this.
It's just funny. I don't know. It's just weird that you guys would take a stand on something like that, but you guys, like, would take a stand on that and not, like, hamsters or something.
Well, I mean, hamsters are solitary animals, but they get along with other hamsters pretty well as well.
Not typically.
I mean,
if you sold 2 hamsters in a critter trail, which I know happens, it's like, there's no way on earth they're going to get along. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's such a confined quarters. So, like, that is something that, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, take a stand on that. You know what I mean? But, okay, well, thank you for clarifying a little bit more. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm sorry about this. It's just kind of store policy.
Okay, well,
yes,
maybe write in solitary hamster as a policy too, at least, because I understand I understand you taking up for the plants, I guess, but and the betas as well. But maybe take up for the hamsters too.
Yes, ma'am. I will greatly consider it. Like, we'll write that in. I'll bring it up to my boss.
All right. Well, have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Are you as dumbfounded as I am? I could not believe what I was hearing. So the store employee said that basically it's store policy that they are not allowed to sell any living thing in their building to someone who has the intentions of killing it. So I never said I was killing the plants. I never said that I was gonna be taking them outside and smashing them with a brick or dipping them in battery acid. I never said anything like that. All I did was inquire about getting some aquatic plants to go into an aquatic pool in my backyard that has plenty of sunlight, full of water, and has some tadpoles in there. It really isn't a crisis scenario that he's probably imagining. I felt like it was really dumb. I was really stumped as to why he even bothered like putting me through all of that and making us have that whole conversation, which I felt like it really could have just been avoided. So because he was enforcing this policy on me, I did point out a few inconsistencies to him in the policy and how it really didn't make sense that he was standing up for plants, aquatic plants, essentially underwater grass, but yet he doesn't stand up for things like selling hamsters in critter trails, or selling 2 Syrians to someone in a critter trail, or selling betas and beta cubes that are this big. So I was just very curious as to why he was standing up for this policy and enforcing it to me on the phone about these plants and fighting for their little plant lives, but they don't fight for hamsters' lives, or hamsters being sold in critter trails, or betas being kept in cups or beta cubes. I just really wasn't seeing any consistency here, and of course I pointed that out to him on the phone. Now, I was very polite, I was very kind. Obviously, as you guys could see in the clip, I never like got angry or raised my voice. I just pointed out the hypocrisy a little bit, which honestly I'm glad that I did, because I felt like, again, this was all very unnecessary and I really didn't understand why he wouldn't just sell me some plants for my tadpoles. Like, seriously, why? Like, this is crazy. Another thing that I found really funny in the phone call is how he said that if I bought some gravel and some rocks and I planned on planting the plants in the gravel and the rocks in the tadpole pool outside, that then he would sell me the plants and that would make it okay. That would make it okay. This, of course, did not make any sense to me, because no, I'm not gonna buy dirt or gravel and put it in the tadpole pool. I feel like doing anything like that, dumping gravel in there, would obviously pose a threat to the tadpoles. I could crush them, I'm gonna scare them, it could literally startle them or squish them. Like, I'm not insane. I literally care about the tadpoles and I'm trying to just give them some shelter, some plants to hide in, oxygen, things like that. So I think it was just really surprising to me that he was fighting so hard for these plant lives and not the lives of like my tadpoles. I don't know. well. So for those of you that are probably wondering, why didn't you just go into the store and buy the plants and not tell them what they're for? A few things. Number one, I didn't know which plants would be best and which ones would be the safest for them. So that was something that I wanted to know. Secondly, the second question he asked me on that first phone call that I didn't have on camera was what I was going to be using them for, if it was a tropical tank, if it was like a regular freshwater tank, etc. And that's what made me tell him what I was actually going to do with them. Had I known in retrospect that he was going to just say that I couldn't have the plants and then put me through this whole ordeal of telling me that he was going to deny me the sale of the plants and then put me through this whole ordeal, I obviously wouldn't have been honest with him. I would have just made something up. But obviously I had no idea that he was going to go through all that. So now if you're wondering whether or not I got the plants, I did. I went there and bought the plants anyway. So I got all the plants and the wafers from the pet store that told me that I wasn't allowed to buy them to put them in my tadpole pond. I did it anyway. I just lied. I will say that they asked me a ton of questions. I don't know if they knew that I was the one who called yesterday or not. So I just lied. I said I had a 20-gallon long. I was like, oh yeah, I have a UVB light. There's only a beta in there, this and that and the other. Obviously none of that's true, but if they knew that I was putting it in my tadpole pool outside, they were not going to sell them to me, which is insane to me. But I did get the wafers too. These are just little algae wafers. I think it's a pretty good brand. They weren't too expensive. I got 2 bags of them to feed the frogs because they do feed on algae. Yes, so I got the plants, I got the wafers. I'm really excited. Now I'm ready to go home and then we will put them in with the tadpoles and all will be well. While I'm grateful that this store was being so thorough and putting me through the ringer in a roundabout way, I'm grateful for that because I mean, hopefully they apply that same logic to all customers who come in and are buying animals from them. I doubt that's true, but for me, they put me through the ringer trying to buy some grass. But like I stated on the phone call with him, I do think that it was kind of ridiculous that they applied so much effort to stop me from buying some essentially grass that lives underwater, some aquatic plants, but yet they still sell critter trails, beta cubes. They keep their betas in cup. They sell people multiple hamsters who have the intentions of keeping them together in critter trails, which even though he thinks that that could work, I very specifically told him that they're solitary and that does not work. And then of course I kindly told him to add that to his policy. So yeah, I was just dumbfounded. I definitely let my concerns be known with him on the phone, as you guys can see. And I guess the moral of this entire story is I appreciate you being so thorough in protecting the plants' lives and of course the betas' lives, like you mentioned in that phone call as well, by not selling 2 betas to someone who's going to keep them together. However, if you're going to be that thorough about saving plant lives that you're selling at your pet store, you should also put that much energy and focus into the other animals in your store. Just for instance, hamsters. I don't know, maybe don't sell critter trails and beta cubes. Maybe don't allow your customers to buy multiple hamsters and keep them in critter trails, which I know happens on the daily at different locations. Just an idea. Add it to your policy. Right underneath, do not sell plants to people who are going to kill them. All right, guys, that is it for this video. That is it for this pet store story. Completely ridiculous, I know, but I still wanted to share it with you guys and let you know that I did get the plants. They're doing wonderful. They are thriving in the tadpole pond and the tadpoles are all doing really well. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys in my next video. Be kind. Bye.